It has been a very long time since my last video. My release dates have never really been uniform. However, I would generally try to release a video about every month or so. I am severely in debt of videos. But I intend to pay that debt with interest. I find it disappointing that I've allowed myself to go this long without providing any content, and ultimately the blame goes to art block. I realized enough is enough and I need to start creating something. I now have a few 3D projects I'm working on and it should be up and posted in no time. But this does raise the question, how? How do I get rid of this art block? Now let's look at what art block actually is. Art block is a state of stagnation where an artist feels stuck, unable to create. They struggle to find ideas or motivation to make art. Now, this really could be due to a number of factors, but I believe overall it can be caused from external stress, burnout, perfectionism, and a lack of inspiration. Artists experiencing burnout may not think that their skills or projects are good enough, but that's not exactly what art block is. You don't need to change your artistic abilities, but rather change your way of thinking. After all, the only person holding you back is you. Now, let's dissect these contributing factors towards art block, and I will discuss my own personal experiences. External stress. Now, I've had a lot going on in my personal life, and balancing everything can be very difficult. I have uni, I go to work, I try to stay active.
Yes, the touch is there, the touch is there.
And I do happen to actually have hobbies and a social life. Now, it is almost impossible to uniformly squeeze everything together without potentially sacrificing some things. My YouTube has, unfortunately, taken the sacrifice these past few months. When trying to balance so much, it can be difficult to focus on the things that aren't of immediate importance and urgency. Because the truth is, this YouTube account is not exactly of extreme importance. I don't have sponsorships or a massive fan base. I'm not even monetized yet. I originally wanted to create videos as a way to motivate myself to work on projects to both hone my skills and provide artworks for a future portfolio. I also wanted to share my work, help others, and interact with the art and 3D community. When things get difficult and stress seeps in, it can become difficult to remember the reason I started the journey in the first place. How could I possibly fix this stress? Well, ultimately, it just comes down to organization and time management. I make excuses, I put things off, I procrastinate. I sit down to create a new video, but I only feel stress and guilt that I could instead be working on a uni assignment or going to the gym. You need to clear the clutter in your mind. Be organized. By properly managing my tasks and setting goals, I'm able to take a step back, plan ahead, and follow a flow. Do whatever works best for you, whether it's writing a to-do list or setting certain tasks for certain days. Instead of looking at everything all at once, I can tackle things one at a time. Burnout can be closely linked to external stress. Prolonged stress will only build up and eventually lead to a big crash. Burnout. Feeling stressed, drained, and exhausted from loads of work. In my case, it can be quite difficult because the work I do in uni is quite similar to the projects that I like to do on the channel, all being 3D related. After sitting for hours upon hours at my desk working on an animation assessment for uni, it can be very challenging to expect myself to go ahead and sit for another many hours to try to gather the creativity and effort to create a new 3D project and edit a new video. I need to stretch, I need to rest my eyes, I need to disconnect myself from the work environment because the feeling of burnout can make me neglect other work or even resent the idea of doing work. Simply, I like to unwind. I move away from my desk and I go do something else. Now, of course, looking after your well-being is extremely healthy, but at the end of the day, I can't continue to make excuses for not doing any work. Now, how do I manage burnout? To no one's surprise, it's again about organization. By cluttering multiple workloads together, I only create more stress for myself. balance is truly the only way to prevent burnout. Take small rests while working, even if it means just standing up, aimlessly walking around for 5 minutes and returning back to work. That quick break is not only physically ergonomic, but it rests your mind too. Simply stepping away and being alone with your mind is great for recollecting your thoughts and planning ahead. Working in increments has helped me heaps and has really defined my overall organization. Remember, take breaks, plan, relax. If something is too much, come back to it another time. You can sacrifice tasks, but don't sacrifice your well-being. One postponed task is okay, but a declining state of mental health isn't. Lack of inspiration. You ever sit down, ready to create a new artwork, and nothing comes to mind. You're stuck, you have no idea what to make. Nothing feels good enough and no idea satisfies you. And so begins the great scrolling of Pinterest or Instagram or even ArtStation. No idea looks good, and the ones that do look good just seem way out of your league. And then you start to spiral down a pit of comparison and doubt, and nothing gets started. Okay, now, for starters, although browsing other artworks can initially be good for inspiration, I believe it's much better suited when you already have a clear idea in mind and simply need inspiration and reference for certain design elements, rather than the entire project as a whole. For example, on a couple of my other videos, I discussed how scrolling Pinterest has helped me to create my dystopian sci-fi renders. Now, it only helped me because I already knew that I wanted to do an artwork of this style, so I immediately used references for design elements, such as lighting, objects, and scene composition. But when you don't limit yourself and don't even know what you're after, the boundless scape of artworks might have you feeling lost and overwhelmed. My solution to that is go outside. Yes, step away and go outside. Get your head out of the screen and experience the world. I'm really not joking. When you look at artworks, you're focusing too much on what you could potentially replicate rather than what you could potentially create for yourself. After all artworks are inspired by some sort of element of our real world, whether it's physical or emotional or metaphorical. When I walk around a city, I try to really focus on my surroundings. I look at different buildings and I wonder to myself, how could I model that building? How could I frame it? I wonder what kind of lighting might be interesting. I take as many photos as I can. I really want to stress the importance of simply experiencing things to provide inspiration, so I'm going to give a few examples from myself. Recently, I visited the Sydney Opera House for the Attack on Titan live orchestra. The interior design of the entrance of the building was this concrete geometric shape. This almost brutalist style looked very compelling with the lighting, and its simplistic structure looks very easy to model, so I thought to take a photo of that as well. Another example was from about a year ago from this render I did. At the time, I wanted to create a sci-fi dystopian artwork similar to the style of Blade Runner. I drew inspiration from the real world and what building represents a depressing, lifeless prison more than the infamous Building 1 from the University of Technology, Sydney. The daunting brutalist structure peeks at you from over the rooftops even when you're multiple blocks away. It really felt only appropriate for this to be the subject of my artwork. So I went ahead and modeled it, giving it my own personal touches. Another example is this fantasy render right here. This one wasn't actually inspired by the real world, but rather a game, Elden Ring. Specifically Mikla's Haligtree. I was very much drawn to the environment through its color, lighting, and the overall ethereal atmosphere. In fact, many of my renders have been inspired by media that I'm emotionally connected to. Adventure Time, The Last of Us, Star Wars. An emotional connection to the theme of your artwork drives you to create with passion and intention. I have very much noticed that the world inspires in many ways. If you're stuck and uninspired, look out the window, go for a walk, watch a movie, experience something. And if you're really looking, inspiration will come. Perfectionism. You may be working on an artwork and it's going well, but you scrap an element because it doesn't fit your vision. You delete another element because no matter what, it just doesn't look right. Next thing you know, you've significantly delayed progress or even completely restarted your artwork multiple times because it's not perfect. Here's the flaw with a perfectionist mindset. The work won't be perfect. It never will. There is no objective perfection in creativity, only what may essentially feel perfect to you. If something isn't feeling perfect to you, it's important to try to understand why. A major issue with perfectionism is that often many artists don't know how to start an artwork. Struggling to start an artwork can be both due to a lack of inspiration, but also an overwhelming feeling to be perfect. These extremely high standards can make it very difficult to start. I heard this quote, "Make it exist first, you can make it look good later." Taking these words into practice will prove to be very powerful. Nothing will ever look good on the first try. When the idea is fresh in your mind, express it immediately and capture the emotion that you want to express. It doesn't have to look good, just make it exist. It almost definitely won't look pretty, but you've already completed the hardest step, starting. After you have your base foundation, you then have all the freedom to exercise your creativity and refine it however you like. Comparison is a major disruptor for productivity. A common issue with browsing other artworks for inspiration is that it may do the exact opposite of inspire. It could demotivate and create unrealistic and unfair expectations purely because you compare yourself. It's understandable after seeing such amazing artworks. Why bother when artworks look like this? Who would want to see your art when there are such better pieces? Why create art when there are such better pieces? The truth is, the art looks fantastic purely because you're seeing the final result. I can assure you that there is a good chance that the process was extremely messy. They could have spent 2, 10, or 20 hours working on it, and who knows how many iterations that they threw away and restarted. I experienced the same thing. I might spend way too long trying to set a nice camera angle for my scene, only for it to always look off. I spend much longer than I'm willing to even admit trying to even just create the lighting for my scenes. Don't let every mistake, accident, or scrapped element on your artwork demotivate you from moving forward, because every action is only a refinement of your artwork. I know that because it happens to me too. Essentially, all of my artworks go through a very messy process. This render was actually originally meant to be in the aesthetic of a gothic dark fantasy. I'd planned to do a blood moon behind the castle with a deep red dominating the scene. After a long process of trial and error, I could not get it to look right. And here is where I had to make the decision that some people may not be willing to make. It can be very easy to cling too much to your original idea, rather than letting the creative process take you elsewhere. Experimenting with ideas can foster the growth of creativity. I ditched my idea of the blood moon, and I was no longer restricted to an idea that no longer worked for me. After some experimenting with color and lighting, I landed on its gloomy, dreamy aesthetic, and I was very happy with letting the creativity guide me. Let creativity guide you. Don't become overly fixated on your original idea. If it isn't working out and you find another route, go for it. Now, here is where perfectionists may encounter another problem, and that is finishing the artwork. No matter what you add or change, it doesn't feel final. Oftentimes, the project may be great how it is, but it doesn't quite feel finished. I experience this almost always with my renders. It feels like there's always something I need to adjust. Minor adjustments to a color or a light that is so minuscule, it's unrecognizable. I realize that when I do this, it may not be the art that's bad, but rather my confidence. I procrastinate the completion, and I believe many of you may do this too. I did the same thing when I was originally creating my YouTube account. I felt as if I wasn't good enough, so I postponed my first video. It was only after diving into the art community that I realized that there is no such thing as perfect art. After all, it's meant to be a form of expression. I've seen many artworks that I believe to be great, yet the artist nitpicks their design choices and thinks that it's not good enough. You need to have confidence in your design choices. You may not be satisfied with your artwork, but I assure you that many people are going to love it. I know this because I feel like I could always improve my renders, yet I always receive much love and support from you guys, and it's always appreciated. Don't procrastinate by overdoing it. Keep your design choices meaningful and intentional, and create with confidence. To conclude, there are many factors that may influence art block, so I tried to discuss it all the best I could with my own experiences in mind. I believe that overall, managing a work-life balance is very important. Keep your mind stress-free and do everything you can to avoid burnout. Take rest. Organize your workflow. With the actual creative process, immerse yourself in your surroundings. Question what surrounds you, and you'll become inspired by everything you see. Let the creativity flow. It won't be perfect when you start, but as long as you just make your idea exist first in a rough state, you will have your foundation to continue on. Work with confidence and it will show greatly through your art. I hope I've given you guys insight into art block. I know it's certainly a relatable topic, and given my recent absence of content, I think it was only appropriate that I discuss this now. After this discussion, perhaps you have discovered something within yourself that you could possibly improve and work on, or maybe it was just that one little helpful tip that was your final push to producing a beautiful artwork. I would love to hear about your art block experiences and any other thoughts and opinions you guys have on the matter. Thank you to everyone who has supported me, and stay tuned for some upcoming videos.